Sup, 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 sup. Sup, my name's Coflo. Let's catch the ghost with some bootleg plugins. This series is all about taking plugins that, whether I own them and I use them, or plugins that I've read reviews about, seen tutorials online, and I've been inspired by what the plugin offers in terms of its workflow or its sound or its conceptual idea about how to take things and create something new. And I take those ideas and I turn them into my own workflow, doing it all through Logic or using relatively cheap, like really inexpensive or free plugins that are out there on the market to develop my own kind of like bootleg version of it. The really cool thing about this approach and trying to bootleg something is I'm not really replacing the product. In most cases, I'm just kind of developing new creative ideas. And in the process of trying to break down what the plugin actually does, I'm teaching myself something, or I'm taking an idea that I already understand and I'm working it into something new to create something useful, or at the very least teach myself something. So on this episode, we're going to be taking a look at the Greg Wells Mix-Centric one knob, and it's a whole series where one knob basically does a ton of shit. This particular one knob is about taking your stereo mix and placing this knob on it, turning it up, and making things sound better. I really dig the concept of having one knob, one button, having very few options available to you, not because I don't like the technicality of audio engineering or production. It's more along the lines of putting the reliance on my ears, finding stuff that works well for certain situations, and just going to it, turning the knob, pushing the button, cranking things too far, not cranking things far enough, and just kind of trusting the instinct of what the result is versus what you hear. And I'm all about simplicity because, man, I live a complicated life, and like a lot of you, when it comes to being creative, you just want to make shit happen. So here we got the one knob. So what does this actually do? It's doing a bunch of stuff under the hood. It's got magic. It's magic, and it's super cool. And I do go to it fairly often to at least check and see when I'm working on something, I'm getting to that stereo mix down, or even sometimes as like a part of the mastering workflow, just seeing how I can glue things together, tighten things up, brighten things. It's doing a lot, and sometimes it works really well, sometimes it's a bit much. So let's go ahead and listen to what it's doing to this sketch idea that I've been putting together with my homegirl Lady C. So let's check it out and see what it's doing. Alright, so what I'm hearing is as I turn the knob up, as I turn the knob up, I'm getting a bit of brightness, a bit of kind of openness. I'm making things quite a bit thicker in kind of the low mids and low range. Obviously things are being compressed, that's very obvious. And there's added volume for sure, so things are getting louder as the knob turns up, which is always really difficult when a plugin doesn't auto stage the gain or the volume of what's taking place with its added effect, because louder feels better, and that's just how it is. It's adding the polish, it's adding some glue, it's opening, it's thickening, it's doing a lot all at once. So this really inspired me to try to do something where I could create one knob that if I put my stereo mix into a process, can I get a similar result? Well, I think I got something pretty cool. So let's check out what I did. Here's my mix-centric, co-centric stack. And I made this using smart controls, which are Logic's macro tool set. And if you're not familiar with smart controls, it's something you should definitely dive into. And if this is something that inspires you, or this series inspires you to recreate exactly what I've made, let me know in the comments, throw me a like, give me some feedback, and I'd be happy if enough people were into it to actually walk through step by step how I made this. Okay, so let's listen to what I got going on here. So there you have it. Pretty cool, right? Opens things up a bit. Things start to sound a little bit more harmonically rich, a little bit thicker. Obviously, you know, not quite the same level of compression or really much compression at all. Certainly not the same volume. There's some volume being added, some level being added, but not quite as much. So let's take a look at what I did to try to achieve that. First things are, is you'll notice that the audio is actually sitting in a track stack or a bus, but that's it. So what's really going on? So if I unhide my tracks here, because it's just cleanup work, we'll see that I actually have a bunch of more buses that are sitting inside of that track stack. Let me pull back the sheet here, and we got actually all of my mix channels that coincide so we can see everything in real time. So what I did was I took my audio and I set up a bunch of different buses, and I treated these buses as parallel additive processing buses, meaning I'm going to send the signal of my track to all of these buses, and then I'm going to process each one of them in parallel. So I have one to make things shine or make it brighter and kind of shine, open things up. I have one for thickness to make things thicker. I have one for more warmth and kind of that added kind of low, mid, and low end. And then I got the bump where we're kind of looking at just the subsonics and the stuff below 100 hertz or so to kind of add that extra bump. So what is actually taking place here? So if I click on my track stack, I have this knob here, and this knob, Co's knob as we'll call it, as I turn it up, we can see that my faders are actually going up in kind of an independent level, each one of them. So they're not going up the exact same amount, and they correspond with that knob going up and down. And then we also see that we have this one hanging out here on the end called par, which stands for parallel. Catch my drift with my signal flow here. We have a bunch of buses all being sent the full signal. We're doing a pre-fader signal full send of 0 dB out to each one of these. Each one of these is then being EQ'd according to kind of the frequency range, like a multiband is being EQ'd to a frequency range that I feel kind of fits the vibe of what that description is, like shine, kind of grabbing that upper tops and upper mids in air. Thickness is grabbing kind of that mid, upper mid, starting to grab the lower mid, and so on, right? And then I'm also, with a few of them, doing some heavy compression. So I'm just squashing the shit out of those frequencies to try to create some character from the compressor, try to create like a bunch of extra harmonic value, and we're just blending that in and blending it into taste. I kind of set up some ranges knowing that shine might be a little bit heavier, bump might be a little bit heavier, maybe warmth and mid are not quite as much volume being added in. And as we add in all of those values and all of those frequencies, I'm turning down the parallel channel, because all of these now are feeding into another bus in the chain, which is then being turned down. Then we have the original audio track and my parallel, both of them feeding into the main track stack. And on that main track stack, we have a compressor that's really just set up to limit a few dBs. So as things get louder, the limiter is just a couple of dBs, you know, kind of tightening things or gluing them together a bit to try to get more of a gluing effect, but it's nothing over the top. It's just kind of mixing in parallel these processing signals to then thicken, widen, brighten, and all that. And you could do, with this kind of workflow and idea, you could do a lot and attach it to a knob, slap a track in there, turn it up, and see if it starts to add just that extra little bit in your processing chain as you continue to stereo process what you're doing. So let me go ahead and play it. I'll turn the knob. You can watch all the dials in action and get a sense for like what it's doing. I could even mute some of the channels so you can kind of hear what they've added and what they've not. So let's take a listen. So there you have it. That is the concentric Co's knob. So yeah, super inspiring parallel processing idea, attaching everything to a macro set. I like working with macros and logic to develop processes. So if nothing else, again, it's about teaching myself ideas of how can I glue these things together? How would I do that rather than just put one plugin, compress everything, or one EQ, turn a bunch of knobs. And a lot of the times I feel like a lot of these plugins are just doing some really intelligent parallel processing and analyzing of multiple frequencies, especially with something like one knob that's just doing so much. So hope this was inspiring. I hope this, if nothing else, kind of got the motor running to do some creative shit on your end. I will go ahead and link to this project in the description where you can go ahead and download it or import it into one of your Logic projects. There's no third-party plugins involved in it, or at least the copy that you'll get. So yeah, hope you enjoy. If you're feeling this stuff, go ahead and comment, drop me a like, and of course subscribe, because we have weekly, we meaning me, have weekly content coming out, everything from more bootleg plugin series, music reviews, all kinds of good stuff. So like, comment, and subscribe, please. All right, peace, y'all. We'll catch you next time.